Hello, everybody, and welcome back to CADS. Now, there is no pithy intro tonight. There's nothing jolly. There's nothing fun. Much like being a Spurs fan right now, I will admit. So, yeah, I'm here tonight. As always, I've got some friends along, and I'm going to go anti-clockwise for once. John, how you doing?
Very fine. I've got over yesterday now.
You've got. Oof. I'm still getting there, I think. Okay, Charlie Bewley, how you doing?
I'm frankincense, mate.
Frankincense. Yeah.
Very good.
Is that it? Charlie can't even talk right now. His head's in his hands. You can't see him on the
I'm
camera, but
good, dude. I'm good because I'm just going to be a broken record tonight again. I don't mean to have told you so, but I mean it's been coming. There were signs.
yeah, yeah. Can't say we didn't see it coming. And Austin, how you doing, Austin?
Better than the team.
Better than
I'm
the
good.
team. Ah, I
I'm
think we
good,
need
thank
to.
you, Stu. Nice to see everyone.
Yeah, I think we need to. I think there's two things we need to do tonight. We need to try and sort out what the root cause of this is. I mean, is this crap players or is this crap manager? Now I have my thoughts, and I have a feeling that Charlie is probably with me on this one. Um, or is it even potentially a combination of the two? Have we got crap players and a crap manager? I personally don't see it like that, but let's quickly go around the table. We're going to go reversed this time. Austin, what do you think? What's your thoughts?
Um, I'm on the fence with regards to the manager. I thought the last two or three games we played well. Large, better rather than worse. Um,
Are
Sunday
you
was,
including the Newcastle game in that? Because Thomas
yes, I
Frank
am.
is, and it pisses me off every time he says it. Because for me, Newcastle was not a good performance. We had two shots on target
Mhm.
and gone.
Yeah, I know, but I'm pleased that we got the fight back and got the draw. The next two games were all right. Then the third game yesterday was absolutely shite. Excuse my French. Um, we've got good players. There are players I've seen that have played very good football. We've got Bergvall, we've got Gray, um, uh, Ramiro, Van de Ven. They are good players. Kudus is a good player. Um, Kolomuani looks like he's got a game in him somewhere. I think he needs to find a patch of form. So I think we've got a squad that is better than it looks at the moment. And I don't know whether that's down to Frank or what, but I think we've got potential. I think the right manager could absolutely unlock our potential and see us doing really well.
All right, Charlie, go on. You get started.
Okay, well, I think I don't think there's any hiding place in a cauldron like the Premier League. I don't there's whatever's happening is happening for good reason, and I especially in front of 60,000 fans, we're so sensitive to what we're seeing, and it usually is because you know there is something there's something wrong. We could be winning these games, in my opinion, and there'd still be something wrong. Um, and I think it's been wrong for a while. And you guys know my opinions on what I feel is, an endemic softness within the club, and how that gets solved, I think should be top of the agenda for the new board. I think if they want to really endear themselves to us, not saying that that's their prerogative, but I think it's important, given what we've been through over the past 20 years. I do think that addressing the softness at Tottenham is is a matter of priority, and I believe that the brand is a shell of something that doesn't fill it. To be honest, I think it's a beautiful presentation of a brand, but I don't think that the football club inside of it fills that brand. And so I think that those are the big issues we have with the club, and we can get into all that at some point. But in terms of what's happening on the pitch, I don't think I don't think these players are that bad. I just don't think that they are bad players. I don't think that we've recruited well. And certainly I hear more and more that the team that Poch, had at his pomp was not it was not regulated, it was not perpetuated. There wasn't adequate players brought in to perpetuate that success that Poch had. And but that said, I when Poch came in back in, I think it was 2014, 2013. um I don't think that team was necessarily doing that well. It was kind of at the same sort of place that we're at right now. Lots of potential, lots of young players. I think we had 7 players brought for the bail money, and a lot of them weren't performing. And it took somebody to come in who recognized the identity of the club and was passionate, and the fans could see, had an identity that reflected the club. He got a tune out of those players because everyone from Harry Kane to Danny Rose to, you know, um, when Delhi came in, they all bought into what he was doing. And if there's one thing I see right now in every single thing that Frank does, when he's pictured with the players on the pitch after the game, especially, they aren't with this manager. And that is the hardest thing to see right now. And the most revealing thing I think about the situation is Frank does not have the respect of these players, and he's not getting a tune out of them in the way that Poch did. I'm not saying bring Poch back. I'm just saying that the manager that we want moving forward should reflect the club and the club's identity, which has been lost since Poch, and for some time before Poch, and really up until Harry Redknapp came in. And I've got my opinions about Harry Redknapp right now, which might be controversial, but I think that we really do need to go back to that, because I think what Poch did is he spread through the club that sort of Tottenham mentality. He reignited the football club, and got everyone interested again. And right now, I think that we are seriously struggling in that department. And Frank is he is very revealing of what we aren't right now versus what we absolutely could be, should be, and what we want to be.
Okay, Austin wants to jump in. What you got, Austin?
One thing Poch did when he came in was he got rid of players that appeared to be bad eggs. He got rid of Kabul, he got rid of Stambouli, he got rid of a couple of others.
Adebayor.
Adebayor, oh God, yeah. And I think that actually showed that he was boss. And I think he got an authority partly because of that, but partly because he was a good guy and he was a good manager. But no one since has got rid of players. We seem to struggle to get rid of players. And I think there are probably players in the club that we really need to get rid of to let some of the youngsters come through. And Luke Williams-Barnett, for example, Mikey Moore, perhaps, Jamie Donnelly, because some of the players that came through under Poch were young players that were with the club. And I think we possibly need to replicate what happened then.
Okay. Before we get onto that, though, we still need to finish off the round table bit, and John needs to give us his answer. But we'll come back to that.
We don't want to hear from John.
I'm patiently listening to you all. I broadly actually agree in this particular instance with Charlie. I generally don't do knee-jerk reactions to defeats and stuff like that. And I tend to want to keep hold of the manager, give the guy a chance. I mean, and he's only been there 5 minutes really. But where I agree with Charlie, the thing that bothers me is I think I'm not saying he's lost all the players, but I think he's lost some of the players. And I think once you start losing players, it's very, very difficult to get that back. just going back onto the thing about Poch. I mean, Austin's right. I mean, when he took over, in fact, if you remember, he originally made Kabul the captain, but he soon
Yeah.
found out who were the bad eggs, and it took him. I mean, that first year. I mean, in fact, it come up. I think probably November, December. He,
It was early November. Early November was when the change made.
yeah, yeah. Well, there was talk of him maybe losing his job and stuff like that. And he was fortunate in one respect because the likes of Kane emerged. Don't forget, Kane wasn't his first pick originally. It was Soldado. In fact, I can never
Mhm.
understand. I remember Soldado had a particularly good game against Everton, scored the winning goal, and then he dropped him for the next game. But I mean, Kane obviously proved his worth. There was that fantastic link with Son that emerged, and then you had the likes of I can't remember exactly who he brought in. I mean, Dele Alli obviously came in. I can't remember. Uh,
Ericsson.
um, Ericsson was part of the Bell money, wasn't he? Wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
The
Right.
Moroccan winger whose name I've currently forgotten.
Chadley,
Oh, Chadley. Chadley.
Chadley. Yeah. Yeah,
good
No,
that's a
point.
Chadley.
I'm trying to think of Moussa Dembele. I can't remember who brought him in, but he was so instrumental to that team. I mean, and then and then he turned players like Rose and Walker into fantastic fullbacks and stuff like that.
Mm.
When you see some of the old clips from that team, I particularly remember the Real Madrid game at Wembley. We were just so fantastic. I mean, Dele Alli. I mean, it was just an emergence of that team. And then you look at this team we have now, and I thought last season, 17th place, it wasn't a true reflection on what this team was really capable of. I'm beginning to think that maybe it is now because I see some of these players, even some of the better ones. Are they really pushing it for Tottenham now? I just don't see it. And and it's not just and it's the players and it is Frank. It's the two sides of it are issues at the moment. I mean, to how many games have we played recently where we've had one or two shots on goal all match? It's just not acceptable, really. But and then I look at you look at people like Richarlison. I mean, I know he's scored a few goals over in this last year, but when you compare him to the likes of Kane, he's just awful. Absolutely awful. And I couldn't understand, I'll be honest, the substitutions on Sunday. I mean, to me, Mwani looked like there was more possibility with him. Why not play him down up front on his own and take Richarlison on? Richarlison was absolutely pants. Along with not he wasn't the only one. I mean, Xavi did absolutely nothing. Kudos was running down blind alleys all the time. Anyway, that's my thoughts.
Charlie?
Frank for me is making decisions at this point which are almost impulsive of an idea as opposed to any kind of structure. And for somebody who was brought in because he was technically more structured, and of course, he was supposed to be the antidote to a very messy but rigid Postecoglou team in the league. Frank has. I'll just use one example. I mean, do you remember when Vicario was taking free kicks from the halfway line and pumping them into Van der Ven and Romero? Even the corners were more dangerous. I mean, if that was that was a good way of getting goals. That's gone now. It's gone, and it's almost like Frank is trying to you know, brings so much into the team that he's forgetting kind of what he's done that kind of worked, and ultimately he's constantly playing catch up. I mean, I'm with you, John, absolutely. Like when I saw Ben Davies coming on for Jed Spence, I actually think that I actually think that he subbed Jed Spence because of petulance. I think that Spence was in front of the Forest crowd. He was probably getting a lot of jip, especially when we went a goal or two down. But there was no reason to substitute Jed Spence. I can't remember him being on a yellow card. He was lively. He was actually one of the players I thought who was actually up for the game. And he uses a substitution, a defensive substitution. Davis ain't getting forward. He's not going to get crosses into the box. That was an impulsive decision. I think that was a personal decision. I actually think that was a personal decision. Bad example, really. But then he substitutes, Paulinho and Bergvall on. They weren't doing anything for the game. It's almost like he's got something stuck in his mind whereby he thinks that will fix it, but ultimately he's not actually addressing the issue, which is we had no spark up front. Odegaard would have been a much better person to bring on, Tell even, and to leave Richarlison on and take Kolo Muani off, who I agree with you, John. Kolo Muani was one of our more lively players. Again, somebody who was up for the fight. But Frank seems to be so, he seems to be so almost paralyzed by I'm just going to say it. I think he's afraid of the job that he's taken on board right now, and it sort of shows in everything he does. And when you're paralyzed like that, and I've been there in an acting sense, like you certainly aren't inspiring to the team. The team look at you for guidance, and you're making decisions like, "You're bringing Ben Davis on for me," said Jed Spence. I mean, no disrespect to Ben Davis, but like Jed Spence is like, "What are you doing?" Like, and then there's a photo of him just looking at Frank from the bench, just going, almost like you don't know what you're doing. And I think there is that sense right now with Frank that the players looking and going like, "No, we get it. You did all right at Brentford, but you're so out of your depth right now." And I've said this before on the podcast, and I'll say it again. I think there's something subconscious in the players right now that they know that if they actually try hard, that it's gonna mask over the cracks of what Frank isn't, and they know that this guy is not going to take them to the level that they signed for Spurs to actually attain. And I think that the faster that they think, I mean, it's such a bizarre mentality, but the faster that they play shit and we go into the weeds, the faster this guy will be out, and we make a better decision on the manager moving forward. I think they've collectively, subconsciously made that decision. And that sounds wild, but I just can't see any other excuse for the way we're playing, because we are not that bad.
Wouldn't be the first time that's happened in football either. There's plenty of, stories of players basically in the dressing room collectively agreeing that if we just sit this out, the manager will be gone and we'll be able to play better under a better manager. I remember Chris Sutton talked about it many years ago. On the Jed Spence substitution, from my memory of the game, he was responsible for losing the ball 5 times in a row pretty quickly before he was substituted. It was like pretty much bang, 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 bang. The ball went to him and he lost it in fairly slack movement. I could see potentially why he was being brought off, but clearly he didn't appreciate it. And I don't think Ben Davis, much as I love Gentle Ben, much as I think he's amazing, I don't think Ben Davis is the person you should really be replacing a thrusting fullback for. He was one of the few players who was actually giving us an out ball and giving us some momentum on that side. I thought Richarlison was really, really bad. Richarlison was effectively anonymous, apart from the fact that if he'd been anonymous, he wouldn't have been knocking the ball to the opposition at every opportunity he had. It was just a really poor game from pretty much everybody involved. I don't think anybody comes out of that with any credit at all. And for me, I've said this publicly before, I'll say it again. If it's 1 player, 2 players, maybe 3 players having a bad time, that could be on the players. If it's the entire team, that's on the manager. If you are unable to inspire, to get a decent tactical performance out of them, to get them up for the fight when they need to be, then that's on the manager. John.
Well, let's go back to the when Poch first took over again. He had these bad eggs, and he took him a while to realise who they were, and he got rid of them. And by the time we went into the second season, it was a totally different story. And look, Jed Spence, from from being jettisoned by the likes of Conte, he's proved that he's a decent player. He's got into the England team and stuff like that. but there has always been a question mark about him, the person. And I remember because he came under um, oh Christ, the was manager at Leeds, and oh God,
Parker, Daniel Parker.
no, no. It was you know, he's managed a lot of clubs and brought them up into the Premier League, but it's always failed
Oh,
in the
Warnock, Neil Warnock.
Warnock, yeah. And
Yeah,
Warnock, I remember suggesting that actually he wasn't a good character, and it makes me think that maybe that is what it's about with him, you know. And you only need one or two players like that in the changing room, upsetting everything, and a problem on your hands. And you know, and I think to myself that maybe you know even some of the best players they need to be ousted, and we need to start fresh. We need to start fresh.
I do
I
think
think the
that,
Warnock
like I said,
quote.
sorry.
I think the Warnock quote on Jed Spence was something along the lines of, "It all comes down to his character. He could go either way. He could either be a non-league player, or he could become like one of the best fullbacks in the Premier League." And the reality is, he's hopefully gone down the route of being one of the best fullbacks in the Premier League. He's knuckled down. He's put in a lot of hard work. You know, I have concerns about young players, certainly young black players, being, tarred with this character brush, which we see a lot from the press. I remember when Raheem Sterling came through, he was, talked about in fairly derogatory ways, splashing his cash and, you know, buying these things. Look, he went and bought a £300,000 house, and it only is, he lets his mum live in it. And it was used as a negative against him. Yet a few years later, when Phil Foden came through and did pretty much exactly the same thing, it was, oh, Phil Foden's a good boy. He bought a house for his mum to live in. So I really have issues when the press start going on about, the character of young black players, and a lot of this does start in the press. So, I tend to ignore it and try to judge what I see on the pitch when it comes to that.
Yeah, I
Well,
don't think,
so that's exactly what I'm trying to judge by what I'm seeing, right?
Yeah,
You know, I go back to when he and Van der Ven walked off the pitch. It was at the Chelsea game, and it totally
yeah,
ignored
Chelsea.
the manager. All these kind of things, it just undermines his authority. And you know, just as I said, you only need one or two of those players in the you know, in the changing room, and it causes all sorts of problems. And you know,
Yeah,
maybe that's what he's got to do. He's got to work that out, Frank. You know, look, I think to myself, if he's lost the dressing room, although you know, I'd like to give him a decent run at it, but if he's lost the dressing room, then what I can't see any way back, and then in which case he has to go. It's terrible, and these players have done it before. You know, Salah was going about being thrown under the bus. In a sense, our players have got a history of doing that now with managers that they don't particularly like. You know, so we need whoever comes in, whether it's Frank or somebody else, they need to sort out who these people are, who these players are, and get shot of them. And we get other players, and we get players who want to play and have got the right mentality.
Charlie.
I think Jed Spence is an outlier, although whenever I see him pictured with all the teammates, he seems to be the center of it all. But he's very, very cool, super duper cool, almost too cool. But I think he's a superb player, and often with players like that, they're really they're sort of they have a way of getting of riling. I would imagine a manager up because they are unhinged, should I say. They are mercurial talents, and they're really looking to sort of test, almost like a child does, test out the manager with their behavior to see if they get reeled in. And I think a manager, I'm not saying like Pochettino, but Pochettino is a great example. A manager who they respect and that they can see that the team is going in the right way, in the right direction. I think that they're more likely to bring on that mercurial nature for them versus the more petulant one that we're seeing with Jed Spence week in, week out at this point. I don't think he's critical mass in the sense that I don't think he can Okay, thank you. Yes, great, fantastic. Does that brilliant? I don't think he is enough of a force within the dressing room for us to, for it to be critical mass. But you get a Romero, you get a Romero, and I will say with Romero, there was a shot. I can't remember what game it was. It might have been a 2-2 draw at one point where Frank was like walked over to the away fans and he's like, "Come on, guys, we should go and say, you know, we should go and clap the fans, right?" And the rest of the team in the background going like, just chatting to themselves. There was no authority there, No, he tried to be a leader, but he wasn't a leader. And, just to that point where Van der Ven and Jed Spence walked off the field, if you watch Thomas Frank right after that, he just stands there looking at them, thinking, I think in that moment, he thinks to himself, what do I do with this lot? How am I going to wrangle them in? Like, this is not Brentford. These players aren't grateful just to play in the Premiership. They have signed for Tottenham in order to challenge for titles. And Daniel Levy, or whoever you want to say, has brought in someone who does not have that winner's mentality. He has I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he has a mentality where he's happy to to compete and essentially derail an opponent. But the attacking philosophy really is not there. And if Tottenham is anything, and this may be why he's lost the fans, and the majority of fans, I'd say at this point, are Frank out. But if we see that kind of mentality on the pitch, that's not something we're going to respect either. And I think that's just going through the club right now, through the players. I just think it's a matter of time. I don't think yeah. He could beat Liverpool as far as I'm concerned. He'd still be out.
Can't see him beating Liverpool. I can't. I can see Liverpool being a horrendous result, and I can see it being the death knell for his time at the club, like it was for AVB's. AVB
Very,
got
very similar to
like,
ABB, I think, right now. Yeah.
yeah. Again, another similarity between him and AVB is great hair. We don't seem to do well under managers who've got great hair. You go back, Antonio Conte's hair looks good after the transplants. You know,
What's wrong with
um,
Poch's?
Poch had terrible hair. Poch had hair like a Lego character. Yeah, Poch had awful hair. Like you look back and you say, right, who are our most successful managers over the last 20 or so years? Which one of them's had good hair? Which one's had bad hair? There's not a single good manager who had good hair at Tottenham Hotspur. Name me one.
Terry
AVB was
Venables was the
terrible.
last one.
Yeah, when was Terry Venables? 1990 what?
Two, I
Three?
think he finished.
92. There you go, right?
I'm sorry, our best manager, and he had no hair, was Christian Gross.
I didn't say that bad managers have bad hair. I'm just saying that if you got a good hair, you're a loser right from the start. Our best managers over the last so many years: Harry Redknapp, Martin Jol, Pochettino. Yeah, not great hair, none of them, and yet
Can I just go back to what Charlie was saying?
you're going to
The
take us off the hair topic. Go on then, if you have to.
yeah. No, it's just this, whilst I'm thinking, they were saying actually on the radio today that um, Frank, if he lost to Forest 3-0 with Brentford, there wouldn't have been such a huge deal out of it.
No,
But obviously you lose 3-0 with Tottenham, and it is a big deal. And it's maybe something that he didn't realise until he took the job, that the size of the task and the pressure that comes with it. And maybe he is struggling with, particularly when you've got a problematic changing room. I don't know. The last time I was on here, we had this straw poll, didn't we? Frank in or Frank out. It'd be interesting to see whether we come up with the same opinion again now.
Well, David
I mean,
Weeks.
I'll start it off.
I couldn't vote for David Weeks again. He's spanking up.
I think Dave is frank ambivalent right now. I couldn't say, but yeah.
The Frank appointment was so weird in retrospect. It was such a bizarre
Yeah.
one. And I said this before, but it was a very algorithmic AI chat GPT type. Chat GPT won't look at the passion. They won't look at the sense of humanness that you look at in someone and go, that's somebody, that's a Tottenham coach. You can add up all the stats, you can add up all the this and that. He's developed players, and Brentford's an entirely different proposition. I remember when they came up, the fact that they stayed up was celebrated. Everyone was saying it's such a well-run club. They've got like 18,000 fans crammed into this new stadium. Everyone's, super pumped to be in the Premier League. Any result was celebrated. Whenever they beat a decent team, it was just lauded as Frank is this incredible manager. But they play the attitude, the mentality of the fans, and the mentality on the pitch that goes through the club is entirely different to Tottenham. And when he was recruited by Daniel Levy, whether it was just him or whatever, whether Daniel was out the door already, it doesn't matter. It was an entirely algorithmic, they bought this lovely squad. They thought they had a lovely squad, invested all this money, and the players weren't necessarily playing to their fullest capability. And they thought that Frank could do that. They got it wrong because they did not see that we needed uniting as a club, even after this wonderful night in Bilbao. We needed uniting with somebody who understood the club. And the first thing that I saw Frank say was like, we're going to play attacking football. We're going to play front foot. We're going to play the Tottenham way, this and that. That was completely out of character for Frank to say that. And that should have been the biggest red flag off the top, is that you don't necessarily have that in your locker. And Frank, for me, as an actor, if I was to be offered a role where they said, "Oh, you got to play something completely outside of my wheelhouse," as an actor, you kind of think, "Oh, yeah, I can do anything. I'm an actor. I'm a good actor. I'm a great actor. Whatever you want to tell yourself in your head." And if you don't embody the spirit of that role, if you don't actually have it you don't have that life experience, you don't have that metal to actually take on that role, you will be exposed as a fraud. And I think
Mm.
I can't really pull my punches at this point. Frank is fraudulent in this role. It's that bad. He is so out of his depth that I don't know, it's exposed him as it's exposed it's exposed his limitations. I don't think he will ever have a job at the highest level after Tottenham.
All right, so
Man,
I mean,
you
sticking
2-1.
with
2-1.
the
Okay, I thought you put
Man
your
U
hand up.
2-1, yeah.
Let's say.
Sticking with the actor things. I mean, people go on about actors being able to switch between roles and go from one thing to another, but it stands out when there's a Jim Carrey who spends his entire life doing these comedic roles and then does this amazing dramatic performance. But it stands out because he is an exceptional actor, much like yourself, Charlie. He's an exceptional actor who, you know, managed to make that switch and do it successfully. And he's done that on multiple times in his career. He's not had one dramatic film; he's had several dramatic films, all of whom were really good. There've been plenty of other actors in the past who have got known for doing one type of thing but have not been able to make that switch. And when they've tried to, they've fallen flat on their face and their careers have been damaged because of it. I watched an interview with Matthew McConaughey recently where he talked about he was trying to make the switch away from rom-coms and it took him ages to do it. And he says, I got lucky because I got the right script at the right time, which worked for me, and it pushed him in the right way. I don't think, like you, I don't think Frank is cut out to be playing the type of football that Tottenham fans want to see. I think he's a good manager. All right, he's a good manager for a club that wants to be playing in a certain way, or maybe isn't bothered about playing in a certain way. I think he'd be great at Nottingham Forest. I think he'd be excellent at Everton. You know, at Tottenham, I really don't think so. I don't think it works. We were told that he was going to be attacking and he was going to be playing in this certain style. And when you look back over his history, yeah, he did it for a season when he was at Brentford, or his last two seasons in the Championship. He hasn't done it for a long period of time since then. You know, John, go on.
Maybe he just hasn't got that. Maybe he hasn't got the players for it. Can I just tell you that my son's very good friend, his friend, if you follow me, right? His dad is, I'm not sure if he's the owner or he's on the board of Brentford, and he was telling him, he was waxing lyrical about Frank, what a great manager he was, etc., etc., etc. And I think, there's a lot of good things about him, and I thought that maybe he would be the guy to, I thought he'd be tactically astute and stuff like that. But maybe the reality is two things: he hasn't got the players quite clearly for what he wants to do, and we have players, keep saying it, that maybe are an issue, you know, and that is a big problem.
All right,
But
we've been joined by A.
I
Let's let A say hello. How you doing, A?
Hey, how you guys doing?
Oh yeah, we're all chipper and happy here. We're having a great time. Oh dear me.
Yeah.
We asked a question earlier on. If we're going to boil this down to, one of three options, is it the player's fault? Is it the manager's fault? Or is it a combination of the two? Where would you land?
We've seen it with different managers and different players. I think it's a club malaise. Yeah, I can't put my finger on it. I think if I could, I'd have a different job. But it's disappointing, isn't it? It's just a all-round, yeah, cluster. Yeah, I won't use the rest of that.
I
Don't want to
think
give
we've
you more
seen a
editing.
fairly significant, changeover in playing staff over the last 5 seasons. You go back 5 seasons, how many of those players were still at the club? Romero? I'm not sure Romero was.
Hey,
Oh,
hey,
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 it's
we've now
alive.
been joined
tonight.
by Ash.
welcome,
Everyone's
Ash.
coming in tonight. It's like
how
it's like
late
there's
am
something to
I?
talk about.
Hey Charlie, hey guys.
How late are you? Well, we
Hi, Ash.
started just after 9, and it's 9:52 now. So,
What did
I
I
was
miss?
literally putting out fires.
Ash, we've been going through, and we were asking the question. You get three options. Is this current form, this current problems we're facing? Is it down to the manager? Is it down to the players, or is it a combination of both?
Combination of both, but as Charlie might have said, I don't think the players are buying it. I'm not saying it's wrong what Frank is trying to do, but I don't think the players are buying into it. And so there seems to be a disconnect. How do we solve that disconnect? Um, if the players are not going to buy into it, then you're going to make a change. You can't change the whole team right now. So I don't know. Have you guys discussed this about the disconnect? Are they buying into
It's
his
not so
plan?
much that they're not buying into him, it's that he doesn't have the respect of the players. He does not, and it's horrible to say that. It's such an exposing arena being in the Premier League. But when you just sense into it, disregard all the stats and all the kind of, anything, you can analyze this as much as we want, but when you look at it and you feel into what's happening, he has very, very quickly lost the fans, very quickly over the course of a month. And he is, I don't know about the stadium, John, maybe you can touch on that, but the players' body language it's absolutely epitomizes a bunch of players who do not want to play for Thomas Frank. They don't want to play for a guy they know does not have, they're with him 6 days a week. They know he does not have the mentality to take Tottenham. They signed for Tottenham to play. We're a Champions League fucking team right now with a great chance of making it into the playoffs,
Yeah,
into the final knockout rounds. I would
yeah,
rather Harry Redknapp take us into those knockout rounds with his no nonsense attitude. At least they'll respect him, and at least they'll play to somewhat of their ability. They are playing to 40% of their ability week in, week out, and that is not their fault primarily. They can all get together and sure they can self-manage, as we're kind of seeing right now. We're kind of seeing them self-manage. But if they don't have respect for the guy on the sideline, calling the shots, making stupid substitutions, taking players off because he doesn't like them, then I think that we are looking at something that really needs to be clipped now, as opposed to, in the middle of a transfer window, for fuck's sake, that is proving that we actually really need that transfer window to get a left winger in, potentially a goalkeeper, probably a fullback at this rate. You know, this is crucial time for us. And the fact that the board have come out and said we back this guy makes me really scared that they don't have their finger on the pulse of this club.
Yeah, the board have come out today saying they're behind Frank and they believe he's the guy to turn it around and will be able to effect better results. Basically, that seems to me like the vote of confidence, and I think you all know how I feel about the vote of confidence. I doubt he'll be here in February. If he's here in February, I'll be amazed.
Which unfortunately might be too long, because there could be more damage done before then.
So
Yeah.
Stu, you remember we spoke about the Van der Ven and Spence incident before,
Yeah,
and how he needed to. I thought it was weak that they got back in the squad immediately, and he just accepted that comment. That was my biggest reservation with him, that he didn't. That was his chance actually to lay the law down. These guys want to play. It's a World Cup year, and that's where you lay it down. And now you sing it, Spence. You sing it from Spence, because he knows he can't do anything about it, right? He's not done anything about it before. He's probably not going to do anything about it again. And that level of disrespect, it does filter through. That was my biggest reservation about Frank. I like him otherwise, and I'm not convinced that a change would be good for us. I'm tired of changing. Basically, that's about it. I want to see how something ends up, but you can't do that if you're not. If you don't command respect from your team, and if that is the case, it's a damning one.
I think that event got somewhat glossed over, because in the very next game we had Van der Ven doing that charge down the field and scoring his wonder goal.
Yeah.
So people kind of forgot that, and Spence sat that one out and then came back into the squad. It was like, oh, it's rotation, and Frank said, it's been dealt with. We talked about it internally. They came to me of their own bat and apologized before, and they said that's not what they were trying to do. I mean, to me, it looked at they very deliberately blanking him. They gave a quick little glance in his direction and just carried on walking. I felt it was weak management at the time, and as you said, I feel that he should potentially have made more of that. That could have been his time where he could have really stamped his authority on the squad and said, it doesn't matter how good a player you are, you're not going to play if you're not actually going to be towing the line and doing what I ask you to do. And I mean everything I ask you to do. Because
that's been nagging me from that time. Yeah. It's been nagging me that, we've just glossed over that a bit. So, I can see where the lack of respect comes from. He's shown he's not strong enough to deal with it.
In fairness, I thought at the time it was wrong what they did, Spence and Van der Ven. But I could partly understand why they did it, because it was a shocking performance. It was the Chelsea game, wasn't it? So it was a shocking performance against Chelsea. And I thought the fans, for the most part, were disgusting. The booing and all that kind of stuff. And I could almost understand why do we want to go over to them and say thank you. I could almost understand it, although they shouldn't have done it. But I could almost understand it. If you know what I mean? Can I just have one more quick thing?
Yeah.
No, I was going to say this quickly. The truth of the matter is, defensively, I think we can just about get by, right? But I'm sorry, our midfield, from a creative point of view, and our front line is just so poor. It's just so poor. Going forward, what are they creating? They can't. Xavi is the guy we're looking to, but unfortunately at the moment, he needs to. Hopefully, he will attune himself to the Premier League, but at the moment, he's not there. And that's all we've got, really. I mean, people go on about Ben's corner. I fail to see what he really does most of the time. Anyway,
Austin?
Sorry, we're going off the subject.
Austin,
No,
let's let Austin in. He sat quietly for a bit.
I'm just about to say the same. Bentancur, 3 years ago, was an absolutely fabulous player, and he seems to have dropped off the plateau. I mean, he just doesn't do very much now. And And Richarlison, I mean, I played football, and he loses the ball more times than I did in the whole of my career. I mean, he tries. I like him because he tries, but for God's sake, the man loses the ball virtually every time it comes to him. It bounces off him, and he works, but he's just not good enough. We need to have someone else in the middle of the midfield and the middle of the attack, and someone else in the middle of the midfield. Bentancur just isn't good enough. I would play Gray and Bergvall together, and I would play Kolomoani up front,
Yeah.
and I'd play Taylor Odebear on the wing.
On the Bentancur thing, Bentancur, I don't think is a holder. I don't think he's your pivot player. I think he's an 8. I think you want to let him free and you want to let him go. The best we've seen from him this year is when he's been given the chance to actually get forward and make stuff happen. You know, but he's had very few games where he's been allowed to do that. He did really well against Brentford. You know, it's games like that where he's actually given a chance to go forward and show what he can do, instead of being asked to sit and be the pivot. He's not a pivot player. He's not press resistant. But neither is Palhinha. Palhinha's not got the ability to put the ball where we need it to be. He's a great destroyer, but he's not someone you give the ball to take the pressure off.
No.
It would have been amazing if Bissouma had
He
managed to
should have
stay off the hippie crack
started
long
against
enough.
Forest. He should have
Who
started
should?
against Forest in Palhinha, in my
Palhinha.
opinion, because he is a destroyer. He is a destroyer. You know, we needed somebody like that against him. You know,
I'm the other way. I think we needed someone who would actually get possession of the ball and do something with it. Instead, what we started with was someone sitting at the base of the midfield and asking him to be the pivot when that's not the job he does. Archie Gray's 19 years old and made an unfortunate error. You know,
well, whose fault was that? Was that him or Vicario's, or was it a bit of both?
Vicario.
I would say it's 50-50. Vicario played it into the wrong position, so it wasn't an easy ball to control. But also, Gray should have moved it on first time instead of trying to take a touch.
Yeah,
I think there's
I'm with
way
you
too
there.
much criticism of Vicario on this game. That first goal was not down to him solely, and the second goal was a freak. That was a freak goal. The guy wasn't trying to score; he was trying to cross, and Vicario was in that particular position. Vicario needed to put himself in a position to claim the cross if it came in. Ain't nobody expecting him to get lobbed from there, and it was, it kissed the post as it went in. It was a great goal, effectively, but it wasn't deliberate. Same as Harry
I think,
Maguire
They
when
had
he
plenty of
scored
other
against
chances
Leicester,
anyway,
was it?
didn't they?
I think
Yeah, well, they had plenty of other chances.
Archie needed, it was a bounce pass, and he didn't read that it was a bounce pass, that he needed to just bounce it back to the keeper, to go back wide out quickly, and we would have been away. So it is difficult, but it's one of those things. When it works, it's the right thing to do, and when it doesn't, it's a catastrophe. But I feel sad for the young man that it happened to him.
And the third goal is just, unfortunately, we've
Was
seen
it
this
a
way
guff?
too many times. We are giving players on the edge of the box way too much time to size up their opportunity and have a clear shot at goal. We've seen
It's
that. We saw
fantastic
that
strike.
twice against Paris Saint-Germain, Aston Villa. It is not the first time this season we've had wonder goal scored against us, because we give them the opportunity to effectively take a training ground shot. They practice this stuff. This is what they do for fun. Oh, I'm going to ping it in from the edge of the box and make it impossible for the goalkeeper. So you don't get that opportunity very often in a match because players close you down. But we're just not closing them down in that position.
Do you think there was any chance of us scoring? I thought we could have played till tomorrow and we wouldn't have scored in that game.
Really?
Yeah, one was Archie Gray, and that was it was a decent take by him, and that
Lovely
was
bit of
it.
technique.
What else did we do? Nothing.
Yeah.
Other
The
than
problem
that,
was
absolutely
we
nothing.
didn't chuck Romero up front. If we chucked Romero up front, we might have had a chance.
Well, it's desperate when you see Van de Ven and Romero go up, because you know that they've just got enough, and they're done. They're the best two players in the team, and they're like, what the hell are we doing? We're doing our job as best we can. you can only defend so much. Attacking is part of defending. It's like the best form
Mm.
of defense is offense. You just you threaten the other goal, and you let them on the break. I think our best route to goal is still Romero and Van de Ven. That's why that Newcastle game papered over so many cracks. It could have galvanized us, but really, ultimately, what it was Romero just taking the game by the scruff of the neck, going, "If you guys can't score, I will." And
Mm.
and that's really the bottom line. Our attack is so uninspiring, uncreative, and blunt. And I don't care how good our front players are. If you give them chances, at some point they will score. But we're not giving them chances. We're not attacking. We're not. And we're not defending.
As I said, our midfield going forward is crap, and our front line. Even, look, I think we would be better with Solanke in the team because at least he can hold the ball up and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But the trouble is, for us all, we know we've been used to these last few years of Kane and Son. I mean, and you've got this. It's like
We've been
it's just
spoiled.
crap.
It's
It's galling, guys. It's
Spoiled.
galling. That was a replacement keeper. That was a replacement keeper, and we didn't bother testing him out. That
Right, but
it
this
irritates the
is.
crap out of me.
I get what you're saying, but this replacement keeper won the league in Brazil last year. He's
It
a
doesn't
title-winning
matter.
goalkeeper. He's an extremely good goalkeeper. He's been Italy's, not he's been Brazil's #1 for a little bit of time, or he has held it in the past. I don't think he is at the moment. He was brought in to take over that #1 role.
sure, but you pepper him. You pepper him.
2-2, by the way.
2-2.
2-2.
Absolutely pepper that goalkeeper with everything you got. Halfway line shots. You stick shots underneath the bar from corners. Like everything you can do to completely unnerve that guy. Give him absolute hell on his
We
first.
had one shot on target or something in the entire match.
I think Vicario is one of the easiest scapegoats we've got, but he's just playing as badly as everyone else is playing. He just happens to be in goal. And so I don't think Vicario is that bad. I think he actually can be quite commanding. He's very, very nervous with his feet, but literally everybody was nervous with their feet in that game. And just listening to a couple of the other podcasts that went on last night. Some people seem to think that when Madison, Kulusevski, and Solanke get back in the team, this is going to magically change. First of all, they're all on knee injuries, I think, apart from Solanke's on ankle injury. None of these players are going to come back anywhere near as good as they were. They are not. You can't say Frank needs to have those players back together. It winds me up when I hear that. It's like you can't judge Frank on the fact that he hasn't got Kulusevski and Madison. Madison, first of all, isn't our best player, and he's frustrated the shit out of a lot of the fan base for a long time. I've been
You were calling for him to go 2 years ago, so
I just think he's I think he flatters to deceive. He's like Bentancur. He looks nice and everything, but I don't think he's actually, when he really wants to, he can affect a game, but he's just so inconsistent. Kulusevski is a great player. We don't know his position. We're overloaded on the right already. What's he going to do? Play on the left? I think that anybody who uses that as a point of the Frank hasn't got his best team out there right now. I don't think he's going to have those guys back to full 100%. At least until mid next season, in which case he'll be gone by then anyway. I just don't think he's gonna survive. And plus, I don't think we should give him a war chest in January. I don't think there's any point in giving him a war chest in January. What's he going to do? Buy Tottenham players? I just don't think so, because the Tottenham players we got right now are Tottenham players, a lot of Tottenham players in there, and he's just not getting a tune out of them because he's not a Tottenham manager.
he wouldn't get the choice to spend the money anyway. It's going to be on Langer and Paratici. He's not the guy who'll be going with them and saying, "Oh, this is the player we should buy," and they'll go out and make it happen. Maybe he'll give them a target and they'll evaluate it, but maybe he will get the final decision on yay or nay.
I never believe that the manager doesn't really have a say. I'm sure they sit down between them all, discuss obviously what they want, and then he might have a list of people he might be interested in. They might have a list, and then they discuss it. I'm sure they don't just say, "Here you are. We're going to give you this player. Get on with it."
No, they get together and they have a conversation. It's very much a boardroom decision nowadays. It's collective responsibility. But it's no longer the days of the manager going and saying, "Right, these are the players we're going to sign," and saying to the club secretary, "Sit down and work out his wages for him." That doesn't happen anymore. It certainly doesn't happen at Spurs and hasn't happened at Spurs for a
I
long
know.
time. We have
You know, days gone by when Billy Nick.
yeah, well, Billy Nick used to go and get the
I was just
groundsman's
saying
son
that
as
the
the
days
football player. I
of
mean,
Bill Will Nick going scouting and looking at a
yeah.
player. You
Have
know,
you guys discussed if he is going soon, despite the vote of confidence? Have you discussed who might potentially be it?
No,
Not yet. Not yet. I want to ask around the table very, very quickly. First of all,
Mhm.
do you think there's any way back for Frank? Is there any way of turning this round? We will start with A, first of all. A, do you think there's any chance he could turn this round?
No, I don't know. I don't know if it is. I think it's unless he's gone in there this week and really lost his crap and laid down the law last thing that he does. But no, I don't see it otherwise. I think he's a dead man walking. As much as I don't want to see change, any more change, I think we've had enough change. But I don't think there's too much way back for him.
Okay. John.
yeah, no, I agree. I mean, you know, I don't really, as Abe was saying, that I'm fed up with all this changing and I can do without it. But you know, if he's lost the dressing room, I just can't see any way back. And with the transfer window coming, you know, in what, a couple of weeks' time or so, 2 3 weeks' time, they've got to make a decision. And of course, the other problem we have is that the people at the top now are new to all this.
Mm.
It's 3-2 Bournemouth, by the way.
Go on, Bournemouth.
Actually, sorry, Stu. I would say one thing though. I think
Wow.
they will have in mind that there's a lot of good coaches will be available after the World Cup. So I think
Yeah.
they might stick for the season because you don't want to change twice. You've got really good coaches with international teams that may be looking for a new challenge after the World Cup, and maybe that's a
Well,
possibility.
who's available that you want right now? I mean, I can't, you know, out of interest, would any of you want the Palace manager?
No.
There is one guy,
No.
that guy
Hang
Alonso
on,
is,
hang on. We've got to continue around the table first. Ash, do you think there's a way back for Thomas Frank? Can he turn this round now?
I don't I agree with A. I don't think so. And quite frankly, the sooner we he's a nice guy, like him, the sooner we
Mm.
get rid of, the better we can. And it may be that we have to do a temporary guy for the rest of the season, but maybe, or even for a few weeks. No, I don't see anything any way back for him.
Okay, Charlie.
I don't think the board. I don't think the board have really got their finger on the pulse here at all. I think it would have been a strong decision to fire him this morning, and I
Yep,
think he would have got a lot
absolutely.
more respect. I think they would have got a lot more respect had they had their finger on the pulse and realized this is an untenable situation. I think they can back him as much as they want, but ultimately that guy is going to crumble in this job. He is going to crumble. The players are going to walk past him at full time relentlessly, and ultimately they will be in a position where they have no choice but to fire him. It's not their choice, it's the fans' choice. The fans have already turned. It's just a matter of time right now. I would do it now.
I agree. Absolutely.
Okay, I'm gonna leave that with Austin, but I will give my thoughts before. I don't think there's any way back for him. I think he's just not suited to being a Tottenham Hotspur manager. I think he'll be entirely successful somewhere else where the requirements are not as set in stone, but they told us attacking, tactically fluid, and we've not seen that. We've not seen that at all. So for me, I think he's lost a section of the playing of the dressing room. I think he's lost the crowd. I think he's lost the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium supporters. And I genuinely think when you've lost your home fans, you're done. It's almost over. I can't remember a time where a manager has completely lost the home support and managed to turn things around. I've seen times where the manager has criticised the support and been able to turn it around. I remember Klopp did it. He said a few things against the Liverpool crowd, but it wasn't as wasn't as forthright as the statements that Thomas Frank was coming out a little while ago. Austin, your thoughts? Just to finish off this segment before we move on to
I would
potential
normally
Tottenham
say
replacement.
stick with him. I don't want to change managers again, particularly, but there are three people who spring to mind who could actually manage the club. Xavi is free now.
Yes,
Xavi Alonso is going to be free, and
maybe.
Jurgen
Yeah.
Klopp is free.
Well,
Yep.
Klopp has said he will never manage another club again. He's
Oh,
quite
has he?
happy
I
in
didn't know that.
His Red Bull director's role. He said he'll never manage. He doesn't want to go back into managing full time, and he doesn't feel that anything would match up to managing Liverpool. So I think that's a non-starter. Xavi's a difficult. Have we got enough Xavis in the squad in the club already? Is it not going to be too confusing to have a Xavi on the pitch and a Xavi in the dugout? Oh dear.
Great
I
rationale.
remember watching his Barcelona side. They played some very nice football. They were very good, very effective, but Barcelona did choose to get rid of him because he was having bust ups with the board. I'm not sure a fresh board is going to want to be bringing in someone who's likely to be upset. Xabi Alonso is having a tough old time at Real Madrid, likes working with young players, likes working with players who are not seen as the best thing since sliced bread, which is probably why he's not doing so well at Real Madrid, because he's got some of the world's best players there. But my understanding of the game he likes to play, he loves to have a six that can't be pressed, and we don't have that player. We've missed that player since Moussa Dembele. I have a name in mind, which will probably get laughed at, and my name is Kittel Knutsen, the Buddha manager.
You've been saying
Extremely
that.
tactically.
You've been saying
I've
that
been
for a
saying
while.
it for a while. Yeah, but extremely tactically
Where is he from?
flexible.
Who's he managed?
Arctic Circle.
Buddha Glimt.
Oh,
Go ahead, Stu.
So he's extremely tactically flexible. He plays with the kind of profile of players that we have now. He's extremely good at developing young players. And he's played effectively at a side that dominates the ball a lot of the time. And he's used to setting up his side to break down, low blocks and things like that. I think he would be a very good manager for us. The problem is he has already turned down moves to the Premier League. There are family issues in as much he doesn't want to move his family out of the country. He's still got kids who are school age, and he said, although he's not against moving to the Premier League, it would have to be for the right project. And I think it'd be very difficult to convince him that the right project would be Tottenham Hotspur, having just sacked the manager after 6 months. Charlie, have you got any names in mind? Let's get to Charlie first, John, and we'll come back to you.
sorry.
I do have a name in mind, and I think it's a perfect make weight right now. My only thing about him is maybe his age. But I think a manager for the rest of the season is the way forward, because I do think that a plethora of managers will. It's going to be a difficult transition close season, obviously because of the World Cup and all that happens around that. But I think that we can do more damage leaving Frank in to the end of the season. Not that I think he's going to survive anyway. To these younger players, and I think that if I think back to when Harry Redknapp came in, that we were turgid, and he seemed to just like unlock everything. And I think I wouldn't even say we're playing with a handbrake on right now. We're playing in like knee-deep molasses doing a handstand. It's like, it's so bad like that. We have a plethora of really amazing young players and decent experience, World Cup winners, World Cup finalists, etc., etc. I think I think that he would command the respect of literally everyone in that dressing room, the crowd. He's been there, he's done it before. He fucked up with the England job, of course, we all remember that. But I think for 6 months until the end of the season, I think if he can handle it, just in terms of his age, I think if Harry Redknapp came in, I would get excited about, or someone in that ilk, somebody who just does not give a shit and free throw at this.
What about Martin O'Neill? And
Yeah.
he's just done the job at Celtic.
I mean, I don't. Yes, he has, and now Celtic are terrible. But he didn't want that Celtic job, right? As far
He
as
did.
I'm.
You said he'd have stayed there.
I think he also said his
Anybody.
wife would kill him if he stayed there. So, yeah. John, you got any names for us?
Well, I was saying I'm not giving it. I'm saying the Palace guy. I mean, he seems, he's actually won things, which is important. He's managed. I mean, you're this guy that Bodo Glint. My worry about somebody like him, is it's going to be a bit like Frank. There's a world of difference between Bodo Glint and Tottenham Hotspur,
Or Postecoglou.
and no, but at least he managed big clubs where the league was crap, but he managed decent size clubs. But I'm just saying this, so the guy at Palace, and also, I mean, I'll be honest, and he actually was my first pick, the manager at Bournemouth. I
Andoni
like the way they
Iraola.
play,
Yeah, he
you
is
know.
also someone I would like, but I don't think we'd be able to persuade him to leave mid-season.
It-
Certainly,
No,
I
well,
think it'd be
that's
tough.
that's the problem. I think after the World Cup, I think Poch will be available again if people wanted him. I don't know if people do or don't.
It reminds me a little bit, guys, of like when Pochettino was fired when he was fired from Spurs. It was almost, I can't remember where Mourinho was at that time, but Mourinho got fired from his job, and he became available, and it just happened overnight, just like that. I can't remember where Mourinho was managing at the time, but he became available, and instantly he jumped into the Spurs job. If you ask me, Xabi Alonso is that character who, if he becomes available, there's going to be a ton of clubs going, well, he's just managed Real Madrid. Obviously, he's got the Galacticos. He's screwed up there, but
Mm.
he is there for the taking mid-season. If it happens in the next few weeks, it could be that Pochettino, Mourinho sort of transfer that might suit all parties.
What if Liverpool blink and they go, we're having a struggling season, Arne Slot's not having a great time. Xabi Alonso, our former player, we love him, he's
Uh,
available, and they move to bring him in. Do you
Spurs
then take
Liverpool
Arne
on
Slot?
Saturday. It could be the battle for Alonso.
Yes, El
They
Sakiko,
lose.
isn't it? Yeah, El Sakiko against Liverpool. Ash, you've not given us any names of yours yet, have you?
These are all interesting suggestions. To try and price somebody in mid-season is obviously expensive and I don't know how doable. I like Charlie's idea with Redknapp because I think that we need to think this out and give the guy a pre-season. I mean, if it's somebody at the World Cup, they might agree they're going to do it before the World Cup because they're saying they're leaving after the World Cup no matter what happens. So they could have a chance to orient themselves, or the coaching staff could. I like Charlie's idea with Harry. He would command respect and bring a bit of entertainment back and the fans bring us back. So yeah. I
Austin's
actually,
shaking his head.
um, or somebody
And just
definitely
the
like,
vision of the Range Rover and Harry leaning out of his Range Rover saying, "All right, lads, yeah, so
I'm back.
listen,
Transfer window, see what you can do.
I'd take run around a bit over micromanaging right now because the micromanaging is. Did you see that little thing where Van de Ven was given a note and he looked at it and then threw it on the
And
ground?
looked at it again, and looked at it again.
And
Yeah.
what the fuck
It was
is
looking
it?
like for 40 seconds that note. It couldn't have been bigger than 3 stamps put together.
So
Could
was
have
that on
picked that
Sunday?
up and read it, couldn't they? So
Yeah.
one of the opposition could have picked that note and gone on. Thanks very much.
I'm surprised no one didn't. Hang on, before we come to you, Austin, we got to get A's opinion. A, what do you think? Next manager.
I have no idea who the next manager is. That's part of the
Who do you
big problem I
want?
have.
Not who's it going to be. Who do you want?
Yeah, I don't know enough about these guys. I think I'd like a maverick like Xavi to come in. I think I like Glasner, but I'm looking more towards Nagelsmann and Poch after the World Cup.
Okay. Austin.
how is Ryan Mason doing at West Brom? Because I always felt that he was
Thanks so
going to
much
be
for your opinion there,
Spurs
Austin. Let's
manager,
move on.
and I haven't followed how he's doing. So
He's doing
Struggling.
very average.
Is he?
He's not great. Yeah, they're not. They were expected to do better than they currently are.
Right, enough said.
On that vein, they were talking about. Now, I'll tell you, Talksport, they love bringing in Ramon Vega for his views on Tottenham. I don't know why. He's a bang out.
Ramon Vega's always got a view on Tottenham. That's why.
Yeah. No. But he was saying, and here's his name for you, Robbie Keane. He's actually done. He's done a decent job at Maccabi Tel Aviv, and he's doing a decent job at. I can't even remember the name, but what about somebody like him? Yeah,
the hack, isn't it?
I generally don't know how he's done. I know he won the league in Saudi Arabia and he's doing well at Ferencváros, but I've not seen his team play. I've no idea how he sets people up.
Definitely wasn't Saudi Arabia. It was Maccabi Tel Aviv.
Sorry, yeah, Maccabi Tel Aviv. You're right. Yeah. Okay. Very different club. They're a very different country. Let's not get those two mixed up. Oh dear me.
We're going to have to bring someone in because it's going to happen. You know that, right? So it's just the if there's no one out there. I mean, it's going to happen in the next week. I think the next, because if Liverpool we are teed up for that 5-0 that AVB suffered before he got at home. Who was that against?
I think you might be
Liverpool.
right, Charlie.
I think it's happening, guys. Merry Christmas. We're going to get a brand new manager in our stocking.
Yeah, won't that be great? Oh, dearie me.
Listen,
I
go back such a long way. I remember playing Arsenal. We'd come up from the second division, and we played Arsenal at Christmas time.
77.
And Liam Brady inspired Arsenal beat us 5-0 at White Hart Lane. 78 actually. Yeah, but
what happened to we didn't?
Yeah, we seem to like being trounced at Christmas time.
Christmas present for everyone. Points for you. Points for you. Goals for you. Yeah, absolutely.
Don, by the way, we can't see your face. You've been a quarter of the way through, all the way through.
He's been showing us all the Christmas presents and wrapping he's got in the background. That's what it is.
Don, you just keep up. All we see is your right ear.
Oh dear me. Yeah, it's not exactly been a fun season so far. I can't see him lasting too much longer. The vote of confidence has been given by the board. I don't think the fans are particularly in the frame of mind to give him a vote of confidence at all. If it was down to me, I would say cut bait. I understand the idea of wanting to stick with a manager and giving him a chance, but it's got to be a manager that fits and has shown that they've got something about them. And beyond some games against some pretty poor teams, I haven't seen it. I'll be honest. The only one that gave me any hope was the Everton game, because Everton are not terrible this year, and we played pretty well, but we were trying to do something. It looked like we were doing something
Man
different,
City.
something new.
I think you're forgetting Man City. We played very well with Man City.
We did, but my issue isn't about the teams who are normally above us. My issue is the teams who should be below us and around us. Those are the ones that we need to be picking up points against, and we're failing to do that. So yeah, picking up points against Man City, that's great, but that's a bonus. That's a fillip. I want to see us dominating the teams around us. I want to see us dominating teams like Nottingham Forest, Bournemouth, clubs like that. And we're just not seeing it. And I'm not seeing anything that makes me go, yeah, that's the kind of football I want to watch. Ange may not have worked out well, but Ange gave me pride back in my Tottenham Hotspur football team. And watching it, I was like, this is the kind of football I want to watch. Certainly at the start. He got his message across really quickly. Players invested in what he wanted to do. And I just don't see that with Thomas Frank. I don't see the players invested, and I don't see a style of play that gets anybody involved. That's me. Right, okay, we're going to call it a day. But before we do that, put your hand up if you've got a final last word, and I will call on you and you give me your final thoughts.
Last word on Spurs?
No, final thoughts. Definitely not a last word on Spurs. So far, we've had 3 scratches of the face and the hands have gone back down. All right, okay, we're going to... Austin.
I hope for some
Saying
surprise for
Jimmy
Christmas.
Greaves gave me 60 years of fucking misery by scoring in the 4th minute against Burnley in 1962.
I blame Jurgen Klinsmann, but still.
I hope we get a surprise, as Charlie said, some sort of surprise gift on Christmas Day, but it might be even if it's a temporary manager.
John.
Yeah.
I've just got one thought. There's another thing that is actually bothering me amongst all the other things that are bothering me. Is if they have this, we've got new people at the helm who are very inexperienced, right? And what bothers me, they're going to have to make a very big decision on Frank, whether they're going to keep him, and then they've got to make the appointments, and they've got to get these, new players in and stuff like that. Have they got the experience to handle that? That's a big worry for me, if I'm honest.
Yeah, and it's not.
Okay.
I was going to say something about that as well, John. It's not just him; it's Vinay as well. It's all very, very new at the top, and I think if anybody's got to take charge right now, it's Vinay. And I think that if he should know the way that this goes, and that if we go past the January transfer, or even or even close to the January transfer window, and it's getting worse and worse and worse, it's only going to get magnified during the January transfer window. I don't know if anybody's going to want to come to Spurs at that time, and if he's got any advice for that board, who are very green as football chairman, they're just sons and daughters of Joe Lewis, then he should be saying we have to make a strong stance right now, and we have an opportunity. They should look at it as an opportunity to really stamp their authority, and if they want to be chair people of this club in perpetuity, I think it's a critical time for those guys as much as anyone, because we've had offers for this club and they are digging their heels in, saying, we're not going to sell it. Well, you can't just sit there and not have your finger on the pulse of what is going on here. You're right in the cauldron already. So welcome to the Premier League. Welcome to Tottenham.
All right. So there we go. There's the end of our show for today. We will be back on the 21st of December to discuss the game against Liverpool. Good, bad, indifferent. Let's see how that goes.
On the
Thank you,
upside,
everybody.
after that, the days start to get longer.
Oh, yeah. Final bit of Spurs news for today. Inter Miami have signed Sergio Reguilon on a free transfer. There you go, everybody. Have a good evening.
I saw that, yeah.
All right. See you next time, everybody. Until
Cheers for
then,
hosting,
come on, you
Stu.
Spurs.
Gather round, lads, it's time for a cheer. We've got opinions to share, raise your pot, never fear. From the stands to the pub, we're ready to spit. In the world of football, it's the CADS chat shit. Oh, he was in form just last week, but now he's a flop, so unique. Spurs gonna win it, that's what we decree. Never mind facts, it's our fantasy. Our strikers are legends, we'll score a whole bunch. Forget all the stats, we'll just take the punch. With every wild take, we raise up our glass, while pundits just chuckle, ignore them alas. The CADS chat shit. To the left and the right, we're taking a hit, so you know it's true. Hear the banter ignite, raise your voice loud, shout it out tonight. The CADS chat shit, we'll sing it again with a smile and a grin. Oh, here's to the boys, let's make it a trend. With a wink and a nudge, let the fun never end. Last week we claimed it'll be 5-0 for sure. Now we're debating if we'll score at the door. Did you see that last miss? What a fiery debate as we pull up our chairs and we narrow our fates. Hot takes flying high, we're the kings of the pub, while the lads on the pitch just need a good rub. From the top of the table or right back to the ground, you'll hear us all chatting that familiar sound. The CADS chat shit. To the left and the right, we're taking a hit, so you know it's true. Hear the banter ignite, raise your voice loud, shout it out tonight. The CADS chat shit, we'll sing it again with a smile and a grin. Oh, here's to the boys, let's make it a trend. With a wink and a nudge, let the fun never end.